sustainability and composting, it's portion sizes and kind of, offering more, veg forward items as well that are much more environmentally friendly.
You shouldn't be in business while negatively impacting either the planet or people. So as long as you're able to find that balance across those three P's, you're really kind of honing in on what it means to be sustainable, whether it's your day-to-day lifestyle decisions or running a business.
At the end of the day, working in sustainability is about creating the future we want to be in, right? And one that we feel excited about and one that feels joyful and hopeful.
I don't know, we have a tagline that we're going to start pushing, but think global, eat local. Think about the larger footprint that you leave within, the planet.
You see some of the memes online of people go and they buy their frozen pizza and their bag of salad, and it gets, they say, I'm just taking this one, throwing it in the trash, and replacing it with the bag of salad I know I'm never going to eat. So being conscious of like, hey, if you have to make that second trip to the grocery store in a week, like just kind of, hey, what am I going to eat for the next 3 or 4 days? Again, like that, just avoiding that overbuying, I think could have a really huge impact.
One of the best things you can do for sustainability is to garden. Just like connecting with the soil, connecting with the process of growing things.
Milwaukee is now on the map for, I think it made a list last year of like top 10 hottest travel cities in the world or something. It's just kind of
National Geographic.
Yeah, I knew you would know. I'm like, yeah, you're, that's a Milwaukee.
Good job, right?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another banger episode of the Milwaukee Flavor podcast presented by Visit Milwaukee. It's your boy, it's your host, Jamar Jones. I'm the founder of Forever Media, author and keynote speaker. And we're going to get into amazing conversation with some incredible individuals that we have on the show. But first, I got to introduce my man, Ian, which is also a host of this show. What's going on, Ian?
Hello, I'm Ian Thompson with Visit Milwaukee, Senior Communications Manager there and Sustainability Enthusiast.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a good conversation, a lot in depth. We won't try to make it too crazy for you, so you're really on surface level because we really want people to really learn about this space and learn about what's going on. So, if you want to introduce our guests that we have with us today.
Yes, we are joined today by Dan Nowak at Tall Guy and a Grill, Chris Corkery at 100 Acre, and then Mary McCarthy as well, virtually here from Levy Restaurants.
Welcome. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for having us.
So what's going on in everybody else's world right now? What's hot? Just what's on the top of your mind?
Man, we are in the crush of wedding season right now. We 42 events over the last 2 weeks. Fall in Wisconsin is really... Let's get your events in September, October before we all go hibernate for 6 months.
Right.
So, this is actually a break and a vacation for me to be sitting here stationary in a chair right now. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to rest for a few minutes.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Chris?
On the farm front, actually, with us being an indoor farm, this starts the peak season for us. So the world is flipped in our growing process. So September's nuts. Menu changes. We started supplying all the schools across eastern Wisconsin. So as a lot of the farms start to kind of wind down and hibernate, this is the next 10 months is our peak time. And obviously, we're here to support folks like Dan and the Tall Guy group with wedding season.
Yeah. So it's busy for you as well.
Very, no sleep.
And how are you doing, Mary? What's going on in your world?
I think it's the season, right? 'Tis the season for being busy. Next week is Climate Week in New York City, so I'm going to be heading to New York to spend some time meeting with other sustainability professionals, talking about how we can create some change. It's also full swing for Levy. We open a lot of our sports and entertainment venues, NFL, NCAA. I can relate to the others. It's full swing here.
Never a dull day, huh?
That's right. That's the way we like it.
That's right. If we had nothing to do, it would be pretty boring.
Exactly.
So for anybody that doesn't know, audience-wise, can everybody in the room kind of explain what their business is and kind of what their position is at their companies?
Don't all jump.
All right. Everybody
jump in here.
Everyone just pointed to me to go first. All right. So, actually, today was 15 years ago. I started Tall Guy and Grill as a part-time business. So, I'm the owner, resident Tall Guy. We have a hospitality group now called Brazen Standard Hospitality. As we've kind of grown over the years, we have Tall Guy and Grill, which is our catering brand. About 140 weddings this year, about 400 to 450 events overall. Since we're talking about sustainability today, we are the only certified green caterer in the state of Wisconsin. We also have a bar catering brand called the Crafted Tavern, and then we also have our newest concept, which is called the Dessert Cart. Everything kind of looping together that sustainability component, being green, and supporting local too. So,
Awesome.
All right, that's a great segue for me, supporting local. I'm the newbie to Milwaukee. I relocated from New York. This is Chris from 100 Acre. I'm the founder and owner of Wisconsin's largest urban hydroponic facility. We're located on the north side of Milwaukee, and we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary. We do controlled environment growing, so we grow year-round, 365 days, and harvest weekly to get our other business partners products within 48 hours of harvest. So we're basically reinforcing the supply chain with fresh produce. And our golden triangle and who we kind of reach out to, it's three touch points across your life. It's restaurants, schools, and grocery stores. So we kind of want to be everywhere as that year-round solution around sustainability and fresh local greens.
Cool.
Mary?
Wonderful. Well, I have the privilege of overseeing sustainability for Levy Restaurants. We do hospitality and sports and entertainment, convention centers, and cultural attractions around the country. In Milwaukee, we have the privilege of doing the food and beverage at the Baird Center. So really excited to talk about how we tackle these big issues of sustainability within our food and beverage operations as a company, but then also specifically how that shows up for the Milwaukee community.
Awesome. I'm actually speaking at the Baird Center on Monday. So I'll be there.
It's such a beautiful new space.
Yeah, I haven't been in the new parts, but that's where I'll be at.
It's stunning.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to it. I saw some pictures, so I saw all the colors. So what does, if we just want to go around just real quick on what does sustainability mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's, I think we're all, in the food industry, we just see how much waste there can be, right? From a catering standpoint and events, composting is huge for us because, we bring out, the sexiest thing we do is bring out Home Depot buckets to events. We scrape all of the food in there that goes to Compost Crusaders, a local composter here in Milwaukee. Obviously going through those disposable products, making sure those things are at a minimum like a number 1 and a number 5 recyclable, which are the most recyclable product. It's not going to add as much waste when they do recycle that thing. Compostable products, things like that. And then also, keeping an eye on food portions too, right? I think everybody goes to events or restaurants or, a sporting event and they tend to over order. Everybody likes to get the 2-foot long hot dog, but like there's more often than not, no one's going to eat 2 feet of hot dog. Right. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So really it's not just sustainability and composting, it's portion sizes and kind of, offering more, veg forward items as well that are much more environmentally friendly. So.
That's very true. No one's eating that hot dog. I don't know why they're even serving it.
You're not going to feel good afterwards. I mean, I'm not going to say I couldn't eat one back in the day when I was like a teenager, but man, that's
right.
We all know what we're talking about, right? All the giant like
helmet I know what you're talking about.
Man, yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I'm going to keep it a little higher level. I think sustainability to me and kind of the 100 Acre organization is just a principle where everybody wins. I was turned on to something, it's 3 Ps, people, planet, profit. It's not in that exact order, but it's kind of like the golden triangle of how you should be doing things. Got to make money. Otherwise, if you're out of business, you can't do good for anything. But you shouldn't be in business while negatively impacting either the planet or people. So as long as you're able to find that balance across those 3 Ps, you're really kind of honing in on what it means to be sustainable, whether it's your day-to-day lifestyle decisions or running a business. In the world of food, which is kind of where I chose to throw myself in, it's making sure that you just put back more in than you take in a responsible way. I used to be a chef out of New York City. Now I'm in the farming game. Really, the whole journey for me is just that supply chain. Where does it come from? Where does it go? And how do we all have a responsible part in that journey?
That really resonates. And I think for me, at the end of the day, working in sustainability is about creating the future we want to be in, right? And one that we feel excited about and one that feels joyful and hopeful. And I think, what sits underneath that then is exactly what Chris was sharing. We talk about sustainability as just being a more holistic way of making decisions. So I think for a long time, we've been really good at making decisions just thinking about economic outcomes, right? And sustainability asks us to expand that to include the environment and our community. I think the other way I think about sustainability is about time horizons. We're used to making decisions thinking on pretty short-term time horizons, but when we talk about sustainability, we're asked to think about those longer-term impacts and how impacts accumulate over time. That's sort of at the high level how I think about sustainability.
Yeah. So, Mary, just keeping it with you here, when you talk about, the scale of Levy Restaurants, I mean, you guys are in how many different venues and how many different sporting complexes as well? What are some of the things that the company is doing to increase the sustainability and, be very eco-minded and, friendly to the environment?
Levy's we're a big company. We have over 250 locations nationally, and we operate large venues. Dan talked about some of the waste that can be associated with those types of events. So we take that responsibility really seriously. I put our sustainability strategy and efforts into kind of 4 buckets that we know are going to drive impact. One, and again, Dan already talked about some of the strategies and solutions that fit underneath this, but is reducing food waste. That's got to be the foundation of sustainability efforts in food. Anything we do on amazing local sourcing, sustainable sourcing, plant-forward menu design, if that food's getting thrown out at the end of the night, we've missed the mark. So we focus a lot on food waste reduction as the foundation. But the other key impact areas we focus on are sustainable vessels, right? Some of those compostables Dan was talking about, but also reusables. How do we just get out of single-use items altogether? Then sustainable sourcing, some of the local sourcing initiatives that I'm sure we'll be talking about. How the food is made really matters. And so how do we support our suppliers and ultimately the farmers to provide incentives to adopt more sustainable practices? And then the last one is menu design. Ingredient selection also matters. Different ingredients have different impacts. Specifically, beef has a disproportionate greenhouse gas footprint compared to other ingredients, as does dairy. So we're really working hard with our chefs to design incredible menus, but that from the beginning have a smaller impact. And that's kind of how we think about sustainability as a whole across Levy.
And C.
I don't know what we do after that answer, Dan.
That's
do you guys have anything to add to that at all?
No,
I was kind of waiting. I didn't know if you guys had something to add to it.
And I think Mary and I, we said a lot of the same stuff here, right? It is, that next level down too is that menu design is a huge component, and again, really honing in on those portion sizes. I think one of the things that's made me happier over the years is that we see a lot more food coming back. Less food coming back than we used to, and even then, it's finding those sources. There's a couple of women's shelters and Sojourner Peace Center that if we do have food coming back from an event, there are organizations you can donate that food to people in need. So giving that food a second life, because we are, taking it back, we're storing it, temperature, all of those things, so it's still going to be safe for people to eat, but then it's not going into a compost bin, it's not getting thrown out, it's actually going to people that actually, need a hot meal. So doing some of those things, and like Mary said too, we'll touch base on the local sourcing. Obviously, the less time that product has to spend on a train or on a truck going somewhere, which is why people like Chris, who's saying he's super happy. We're going from 2 kitchen locations next year to 1. He's like, hey, that's one less trip I have to make, right? And just the more you can change your menu seasonally and use local vendors like 100 Acres and some of the farmers that we use in the community here. I mean, that has a huge environmental impact as well. And it's not only environmentally, but economically as well, helping those other small businesses.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How difficult is it really to be sustainable? Like, I know I hear a lot of the processes that you guys are talking about, but how difficult is it really to do this and actually execute it?
I think if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? I mean, we wouldn't be the only certified green caterer in the state of Wisconsin if everybody was like, it was such an easy thing, right? You have to get and I'm sure that you guys would agree too, you have to get that buy-in from your team, right? And I think right now, when people are looking for even a place to work, they want to work for somebody who stands for something more than making a profit, right? And so we decided to hang our hat on some of that sustainability and those green initiatives because we can see in real time the impact and the difference we're making beyond giving somebody a plate of food. Right, so our team, it's evolved into, volunteering for Hunger Task Force, and we're proactively trying to find those new startup companies that are growing something local that we can use on those menus. And again, they're taking the lead too. We're keeping those portions. We're not sending out a 16-ounce steak at a wedding. Hey, we're doing like a 6-ounce portion, right? Your veg and your potato, that's local. It's taking up just as much room on the plate as that piece of beef. And like Mary mentioned before, a lot less of an environmental impact if you're going to the West House Farmers Market to get produce versus some giant, beef farm in a foreign country that's getting shipped over on a container ship. So
it sounds like you got to just start by being intentional about the actions and really thinking about what you're doing and what the output is, and just being like, okay, are there better ways to do this? And is there a way that we also can incorporate being sustainable in the action that we're doing?
For sure. It's a snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've used the example of like the 10% rule before, right? If everybody would just, change 10% of their spending habits or their shopping habits, or, would take 10% of maybe those groceries that they're throwing in the garbage at home and say, hey, could I compost this? Or, hey, do I need to buy the bag of 8 heads of lettuce at Costco when I'm only going to go through 2 this week, right? So it's kind of trying to educate, first your employees and your team, and then hopefully there's a carryover to the community at large. I mean, we all put sustainability in our marketing materials, and we hope that that's, going to drive business to us, but also cause that customer to take action on their part as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I want to, if I can,
Go ahead.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, working on sustainability is tough because we're trying to change systems that have been in place for decades, right? And I think the point that Dan made that I wanted to elevate was that piece of education. I find most people want to do the right thing. They just often don't know what it is, or they don't know how. And particularly with food, I don't think it's necessarily the first thing people think about when they think about sustainability, right? They think about driving their cars, maybe getting in an airplane. They think about coal-fired power plants, those types of things. But things like food waste matter. Things like menu design matter. And so we focus a lot on education as a way of overcoming the challenges of sustainability, because that sort of gets everyone on the same page. And that goes a long way in being able to achieve our higher level goals.
Yeah, for sure.
On my end, as a supplier into businesses like this, as a farm, back to those 3 Ps. I mean, first of all, we can't run out of money. We got to make profit, but we think about the planet, the environment, and then we think about the social impact. So on the sustainability of social impact, operations like mine, because we didn't come up with this. This is happening all around the world. It serves as a platform for reinvestment back into your own neighborhood. So my argument on the food front, from a global supply chain standpoint, and the pandemic kind of exacerbated the situation. But why are we buying basil from the country of Colombia, right? Why does basil have more frequent flyer miles than most people in this country? That is not good for the local economy. Your money here, your spending power is now going somewhere else, and there's no personal agency in what that process looks like. And I think people are really fed up with that disconnect, and they want to find an opportunity to affect change and get involved again. But as Mary said, people don't know how. So, from an urban farm standpoint, where you're in these densely populated areas, You could reach more people just because you're all kind of on top of each other. You're giving folks a chance to participate, right? There's this accessibility, transparency, and a way to get involved. Again, whether it's Mary or Dan choosing to work with 100 Acre, or it's folks coming to get involved in the growing, or teachers teaching their kids. There's this beautiful ecosystem that is evolving around the food system. And I think the true definition or the true solution to sustainability within food is decentralization. It's local production. And I'm not talking just about farms. This isn't a plug for just what I do, but it's just all things. Really empowering folks to get involved through job creation, hands-on education, the other business partnerships you establish. And then that's going to positively impact the planet itself, right? As we said, distribution, right? If it's traveling thousands of miles, it's burning more fuel. There's more hands touching it. As a result, there's going to be more waste. You're throwing out more. Yeah, someone like me, my product's twice as much, but you throw out half as much.
Yeah.
So aren't I the same price? You just got to kind of educate people onto that front. And support each other in it, and then people start to see the impact, right? As you said, right? You buy some stuff. Not to hate on Costco, they got some really good dipping sauces, but
I am a Costco supporter.
I think they're
Black card holder right over here.
Yeah,
but you're right. When you're talking about these sensitive, nutrient-rich perishables, that they shouldn't be going disappearing from our food pyramid. We just have to realize that you actually do probably have to pay a little bit more to get those things into your body. And yeah, you're going to throw out a couple of heads of those lettuce when you're buying it from Costco. It's just they haven't figured that one out yet. And maybe we're a solution to work with them. I don't know. But you got to think of the full circle. And it is more money up front, but long term, everybody wins. You save. You gotta really push for it. It takes a lot of work. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say on the cost standpoint too. Again, I'll mention that 10% rule. If everybody, goes from spending $100 a week at a Pick and Save or a Kroger grocery store, and if they took 10 of those dollars and went to Chris and got their salad mix for the week from Chris, think about the impact if everybody in southeastern Wisconsin just took even 5% of what they're spending at a national chain and just go to one local market, farmer, anything like that. What a huge economic impact that would have. So again, it's not, it can seem like this daunting task, like, both Chris and Mary were talking about, but really it's trying to get people to think of something, how can they relate to it, and how can we take it down to what's affecting it on the table in front of their family at night for their, weeknight meal. So
shameless plug, I guess, for Chris. Chris, where can we find your stuff? Can we go to a certain restaurant and eat there, and then we're getting your products there? Do we go to a certain store?
We're in about 60% of the higher end restaurants across Milwaukee. We are in the local stadiums, some of the stadiums, K through 12 school districts out to Madison. All three big universities here in Milwaukee, the major hotels, and also in the grocery stores. And we have a pretty big announcement. Well, I am allowed to now publicly say it, but we're launching into Kroger's next week after a really incredible experience with.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's a component of where we want to go. But I'm a chef by trade, so I'm never going to let that go. I'm always going to go farmer direct to chef in some capacity in the food service space. But couldn't have done that without Outpost, and that's another plug because they really helped. They held our hand through that process of what it means to scale up, understanding that we're not a traditional farm. The problem with local growing and local suppliers, and Dan, Mary, I'm sure you can attest to this, you want to support it because it creates the socioeconomic sustainability, but they're not reliable typically. And that's what we're really trying to change here, because I'm not affected by the environment outdoors. And as a result, I don't have these swings, and I can establish more meaningful careers in the growing process. So now you have people that are there long term, as opposed to seasonal labor, which we all know how challenging that is. You got to cut down and then rehire. That's a tough one. So yeah, we've really covered the market pretty well, and we're continuing to expand off of our existing farm, but we're also actually in the process of raising money and building out our second one here in River West, Milwaukee.
All right.
Yeah.
We're excited you're keeping it here in Milwaukee as well.
Yeah, and until everyone's fed.
Until everyone's fed. Put it on a
You guys can
t-shirt.
agree. Yeah.
Mary, what's I know we heard from Chris as far as his dislike for Costco. What is something that you really disagree with in the in your world that you're like, man, there's got to be a better way of doing something?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I mean, I think one of the hard things for us is the perception that more equals value, right? And that kind of gets to that food waste issue that we were talking about before. We have a lot of clients who, in order to convey value, just want to put a ton of food out, right? And that's how they sell the tickets. That's how they kind of build that energy around the event. And that has a consequence, which is, then we're really having to deal with food waste. And so we're trying to find ways to keep that incredible value, right? Keep that incredible experience, but find ways of doing that aren't just based on volume. And things like local sourcing are a great way to do that, right? That costs a little bit more, but it's a better story, right? It's a better quality ingredient that we're able to put out there. So I think that's that's kind of like a mindset shift that it's pretty ingrained in the hospitality industry, but that we're slowly starting to try and find ways to push back on. Every chef's greatest fear is running out of food. And we obviously don't want to do that in an event either, but there's a lot of improvement that we can make before we're getting to that point. So I think that's one of the big areas that I get excited about trying to kind of help people think differently about.
Yeah. Just hearing everybody talk about this, I'm definitely learning a lot, I think, for myself. How do we get more education out there about this? Like, I guess besides being in this conversation and knowing a lot of either business owners or people in the hospitality space, like you obviously hear stories and you hear like ways that things could be better. But how do we get this to the masses as far as besides this show, this amazing show?
We're doing it right now.
How do we get this out?
I think we figured it out. You all have done it, right? We're done. We can.
This is it.
You're saying you were going to Times Square soon, so I mean.
Yeah, I know. That's the next step.
Billboards out there.
Visit Milwaukee has been in Times Square.
That's right.
So
That's
Problem
right.
solved.
Yeah. Had them in. So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think for me, it's about linking sustainability stories with joyful experiences. Like, I think sometimes people think that sustainability is just about giving up, right? That it's just this kind of sacrificial thing. But eating delicious local food is an indulgence experience, right?
Yeah.
That is a fun, joyful experience. And so it's one of the things is why I was so excited to join Levy, because of the types of venues that we have the privilege to operate. I think there's untapped potential there to deliver this great experience, whether it's with a sports team or a convention that's in town. It's a great experience, and link it with sustainability, and hopefully then people, you don't need to do, a deep dive or a thesis on sustainability, but you just realize, they're doing something about food waste here. I never thought about that, right? And they just walk away, hopefully, with a different understanding about sustainability, but ultimately, starting to change that 10% of their behavior that Dan was talking about.
Yeah, I think you're totally right with the storytelling piece, because I think that's how most people learn, and how they get attached to something is through story. And when people feel like they're being lectured, it's kind of like, okay, it takes you back to your school days. You're just like, oh my God, like I got to sit here. But if it's a story and it's a good story and it relates to you, and then it becomes important to you, and then you actually start to care about it and you start to think about it a little bit more. So I think that's an awesome tidbit as far as like how we can further the education for people.
I have an interesting thing to share about this. So I picked up and moved from New York to Milwaukee, not knowing anyone, and then I funded this farm idea because I didn't know anyone here. So who's going to give money to a stranger? But nonetheless, with an idea that actually has failed historically not just in Milwaukee, but in lots of markets, this whole indoor farming thing. So here I go and I open this up. And I think the answer to your question is really around collaborative communication and commitments. Dan and his team committed to 100 Acre pretty much out of the gate. I mean, the moment I reached out to them, they committed to us. And we were not a proven model. We did not have proof of concept that we can consistently grow, that our quality was there, and that we would give back. I wasn't doing any of this. And they committed to us knowing that, hey, this is what you're looking to do. Okay, your product looks pretty good. Let's see if you can keep it up. And then that ecosystem started to build. So that's sort of a bottom-up approach. And then on a top down with the sheer size of, Levy is a large organization, and they represent scalability for a small guy like me. So you think of top down and the mission and the commitment, and Mary, the role that you hold, and how they can maybe work with, once again, with an organization like ours to help us scale up into that. So it's the buying power alone, like that's where these collaborative commitments, upfront commitments, and communication really is. That's where it comes from. And then everyone on the outside, my customer's customer, right? The end consumers, they start to see this and they get invited to participate in that whole thing. And that's really, really exciting. I find it amazing. And I'm forever grateful for folks that have taken a chance for us out of the gate, and then also folks that are starting to look at us now on a larger level, because it's all starting to happen and everyone wants to get involved. And it's not just about the greenwashing, green thumb kind of initiative. Oh yeah, you got a crunchy granola movement. No, this is actually a long-term benefit for everybody. The food tastes better, right? Your wallet will be impacted positively long-term, and so will your health. So I'm excited by what I see, and I think the participation is already occurring.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and that storytelling that I think came through with Mary and Chris too. I mean, that's what we try to do, right? Nobody wants to be, talked to like, hey, you need to be doing this, and we're sustainable, and you're punching somebody in the face with this kind of like abstract idea of sustainability, right? It's like
Shaming.
That's just the way our world is, right? Everything is so intense, and it's like it's 0 to 100, and like there's like an either or. And I think if we can, especially on the food side of things for sustainability, it's connecting it too. And I think it sounds like Levy's doing a great job, and Chris does a great job with that. And the same thing with us. It's always tying that, hey, this is something that's local. We're a scratch-made kitchen. Like these are fresh vegetables. So you're kind of leaning into like that health, like it tastes good. Yes, that price point's a little bit higher, but if you're providing that high quality product, it kind of speaks for itself. And then it becomes, what's that old thing? You have to see something 8 or 10 times before you take action on it. So if there's, if Chris is putting that out there, Levy's putting that out there at all their 200 plus stadiums across the country, we're doing it on a much smaller scale. If everybody kind of starts doing that, then people are just going to subconsciously start looking for that. And then we're going to start to see that change that we've all been talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So Chris, why Milwaukee, and everybody else? What's your kind of Milwaukee story? Mary, I think you've been here before. You don't live here yet. We're waiting on that.
We're waiting.
Yes, we're waiting. But what's your Milwaukee story, and why Milwaukee?
For me, the decision to move here and do this is accessibility, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with what one of my end goals with the farm itself. And Milwaukee to me is a very accessible city. First and foremost, financially, it worked for a startup business. My money went further than New York, so I was able to do it bigger and really get it to a scale that I wanted to out of the gate, because I think that growing local is not a fad. You just got to do it at a certain level to really get noticed, and then get others involved. Secondly, there's a lot of empty space in this city and many other cities that they haven't been able to figure out what to do with it for 20, 30 years. The mass exodus of manufacturing. Well, guess what? Yeah, I'm a farm, but I'm really more of a light manufacturing facility with a green assembly line. So we're repurposing. It's adaptive reuse. We're repurposing these distressed spaces, And so with the accessibility from a financial standpoint and the abundance of this space in this city, and then also culturally, everyone here seems to have a great grandparent or a grandparent that either A, worked in a factory or was a farmer. So to me, that's a really great story because it's a heritage. It's a heritage place. So people want to get back involved in that. So as I said before, we're really just a platform or a medium for change through food. And so Milwaukee just jumped out at me when I came here. And I came here for the first time ever. I would not have been able to. I'm ashamed to admit this, but yeah, as a New Yorker, I was not able to point it out on the map. I'm sorry, everybody. The stigma is true. The stigma is true.
We're going to cancel all of our orders for
and I want to let everyone know I'm a full-time resident. My license plate says Wisconsin on it.
You start saying "ope" where
Ope,
you're
yeah,
up.
yeah. There's some things sneaking in. You give me a couple of Wisco fashions. I'm talking just like everyone. But I stumbled upon this, but what jumped out at me was the accessibility on many levels to launch a startup here with a small walkie culture that would embrace what I'm trying to do. Earlier to the story that we were talking about, just like Dan and pretty soon Levy, hopefully. Sorry.
Yeah. Dan, how about you? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I live in Chicago, and I love the train ride up to Milwaukee. It's my favorite way to get to Milwaukee. And I grew up in Southwest Michigan. So outside of a few years in New York, I'm kind of born and bred Midwesterner. And the times that I've been in Milwaukee, everyone is so kind. And that's like the Midwesterners set a high bar for that, I think. But everyone that I've interacted with in Milwaukee really exudes hospitality. And what I mean by that is they care for you, right? They check in and make sure you're okay. Mm-hmm. And that's been the part that has shown for me in the short amount of time compared to everyone else I've spent in Milwaukee.
Man, I'm holding it down for Milwaukee apparently here, huh? Man. So yeah, I mean, I've had the luxury of, I'm from Milwaukee and had the luxury of traveling a lot across the country and internationally, and I think I've been to about 40 out of the 50 states. My wife's got me beat. She's been to 47 or 48, something like that. But we love to travel, and it's kind of, never planned on, being here, forever, or being like a townie for Milwaukee. If you want to, hey, I grew up here and I just live here now. But Milwaukee's come such a long way since I was a kid, and just, especially the food and entertainment scene in downtown. Even when I was in, college at UW Milwaukee, it was, there was no Third Ward and Walker's Point and all those neighborhoods and just all the James Beard nominated chefs we have. And, Milwaukee is now on the map for, I think it made a list last year of top 10 hottest travel cities in the world or something, and it just kind of
National Geographic.
Yeah, I knew you would know. I'm like, you're visit Milwaukee, you're repping for that.
Job, right?
But yeah, Milwaukee. Everything from the weather to the people to the neighborhoods, the support of the community, the high quality food we get from all the farmers here. Mm-hmm. It's a great spot to be. I'm happy to be here, even though we have to suffer through February when nobody wants to go outside. We get the four seasons here, but really I'm happy to be here. The community's been great about supporting their, small businesses like, mm-hmm. Chris mentioned before. And we're excited to keep growing and being here. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg for where the city can go.
So real quick, let's just do a round robin thing here real quick. What is your favorite food here?
Oh, man.
just real quick. It's like,
favorite food.
It's like, man.
You can't do that to me.
Just favorite food, man.
I will say, you're talking about favorite food is pasta. So my mom's side of the family, my great-grandparents immigrated here from Sicily in the early 1900s.
Okay.
So comfort food for me is going to sound cliched. It's going to be cheese and pasta.
Okay.
Typical Wisconsin.
Where do you go? Where do you go to get that here?
There's a Safina is a newer spot. But I guess I got to give a shout out to one of my, egg and flour, good pasta. Lots of good Italian spots in the city. But yeah, a lot of times I can, again, being a chef, I'll make pasta at home quite a bit. So you got a cheat code. Like Chris and I have cheat codes, and Mary too, right? Like we just, how to cook. Like, well, I can just make this myself. Yeah. So, I have a smoker at home. I've been messing around with a lot this year, so getting into to barbecue a lot more.
Nice.
But yeah, my go-to on stressful weeks like this with how busy we are, it's just Yeah, man, pasta.
Some pasta.
Yeah, got to do it.
Nice.
Plug in food here. All right. Well, I'm not going to go near pasta or pizza as a New Yorker. I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
That's all right.
There's some good places here, but I don't want to get into the whole, oh my God, we got the best bagels.
There was one other New Yorker on the show, by the way,
All right.
and so he was talking
still
about
around,
pizza. He was on Hell's Kitchen, Sakari Smithwick.
Okay.
But he was also on here, and he was talking about. But
Yeah.
we were putting him on game about Milwaukee foods, and he's like, "Dude, I'm coming to visit."
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I'm gonna plug something here, but the Tiki Bar at the Milwaukee Public Market, I love their 3 seafood soups. I go nuts
really?
for them. Yeah, the gumbo,
Wow.
the lobster bisque, and the crab chowder. Oh my God, the clam chowder. That's my go-to. I've been eating that probably 4 or 5 days a week for a couple of years now. Plus, that's a hotbed for locals and people visiting.
sure.
So you get this like whole transaction of weirdos exchanging ideas over soup, and that's just my thing.
All right.
If we're gonna go restaurants, so I've been, shout out to Camino, their West Dallas location. I mean, they have a
Yes.
$5 burger night.
Oh my God, their wings are so
the
good
beerless,
too.
The wings are great. The pierogies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they have a super.
I gotta go there.
Like kick-ass brunch on Sundays too,
Yeah.
with good cocktails, and they have like this Korean breakfast burrito that's kind of a jam. So if we're going to a specific restaurant, that's like, I've been there way too much.
I didn't want to
the
just say
last couple
soup.
months.
I had to say what soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Mary? What have you had in your travels here?
As an out-of-towner, I don't feel well positioned to answer this question, to be honest, because most of the time when I come to Milwaukee, I eat at Levy locations.
Oh, okay.
And I have to tell you, I feel even more set up for a cliche because the first time I went to the Baird Center, the Cheese Expo was in town. So it was like I was walking into a Wisconsin, like an important part of the Wisconsin economy, but also a walking cliche.
You're right.
So,
A bunch of cheese.
yeah, I confess I have not enjoyed the full diversity of the Milwaukee food scene, though I've written down all of the recommendations.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
Nice.
Next time I'm up there, I'll get to some of these.
Yep. When we talked about your Milwaukee story, you wrote these down. You came here, you ate them, and then you moved here. So it's perfect.
In a year from now, we can do this again.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, no, this has been great. I mean, you guys are really leading the charge in sustainability. What is somebody? So if you're just an everyday going person, what is something that somebody can do and just in their everyday life to kind of move the needle in sustainability?
I think it's kind of the overbuying, right? You see some of the memes online of people go and they buy their frozen pizza and their bag of salad, and it gets and they say, I'm just taking this one, throwing it in the trash, and replacing it with the bag of salad I know I'm never going to eat. So being conscious of like, hey, if you have to make that second trip to the grocery store in a week, like just kind of, hey, what am I going to eat for the next 3 or 4 days? Again, like that, just avoiding that overbuying, I think can have a really huge impact.
On my end, I don't know. We have a tagline that we're going to start pushing, but think global, eat local. Think about the larger footprint that you leave within the planet, and the best way to minimize that is just making local commitments. Doesn't just mean do it blindly. Not everything's good. Not every local is making good stuff. I mean, some stuff sucks. Like don't do that. You got to let the process unfold. But just really supporting your local suppliers, your local establishments. Get to know them, get to know their stories. More often than not, you're going to find out that there's more than just one way to participate and support. How we all do business. It's not just coming and paying us for a good or a service. There's many ways to get involved, and I think that's the coolest thing. And that does actually underscore a big part of the Milwaukee culture, by the way.
I totally echo what Dan and Chris said, but I think what I would add, I always recommend my top sustainability kind of oriented book recommendation is this book called Braiding Sweetgrass. It's by Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. She's a indigenous botanist, and one of the things she says in the book is one of the best things you can do for sustainability is to garden, just like connecting with the soil, connecting with the process of growing things. And I'm not a very good gardener, but I still try to dabble. And one of the things that it helped me with was just like respect for food, like just understanding all of the work that goes into creating and producing delicious food. And I think that touches on exactly what Dan was saying about that overconsumption, right? If we appreciate all the work that's gone in from someone like Chris to get that food to our plates, I think we treat it differently. So garden would be what I say.
Yeah. I'm going to even chime in as my sustainability enthusiast as well, too. Freezing things, right? When they're about to hit the end of their shelf life, freezing things is always an incredible way to bring them back to life. You know, when you're like, oh, I don't have a time to cook this week, you freeze it. A lot of things can be, thawed out, reheated, everything else, and then you can use them at a later date. So they don't necessarily need to be added into the garbage because they're going to spoil and everything else. But, freeze it right before the end of it and then use it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I do that with bread a lot.
I do it with bread as well. Yep.
I do that with bread a lot.
I stick the bread in the freezer and then you pop it out, put it in the toaster when you need it. So.
Especially them prices keep going up, man. So I buy in bulk and I put it in the freezer and I use it for later. No, I think those are awesome tips, like really good tips, actionable tips that people, can use as they're watching this and listening to apply into their life, to become just think a little bit differently. I think anytime anybody goes into the process of something and sees it actually like how it's being made, or if you got to do it, you definitely gain a better appreciation for that thing. And I think that's in anything and everything that we do. So especially within something that we do all the time, which is eat, we definitely need to think about those things. So I think those are great tips that everybody gave. Fantastic. So just in closing here, I want to ask each one of you, what do you feel like is kind of like your golden achievement that you've been able to accomplish in this work, in this topic of sustainability? I just want to hear just from each one of you, just in your own either personal journeys or your professional careers, just hearing like what you're really proud of that you're able to accomplish.
For me, it's getting it's being a small business too. You're always trying to motivate your people and to see, something where it was maybe something I initially cared about when I started the business, like, hey, let's be more sustainable, let's support local, let's implement this composting program. Nobody can do it alone. And I think one of the greatest things is to see our team kind of take that ball and run with it, and then they're in turn educating me on, hey, I found this article, or hey, we could be doing this a little bit better, or improving a process. And to me, it's a super humbling experience to see people have that buy-in, and to even take it a step further and to help, and they're helping to push me even further. So that's seeing the team at work embrace all of our processes. That's been a super cool thing.
Yeah, very rewarding.
Yeah.
I think in trying to build it's hard to build an ecosystem as a business because it's a circle, so there's no starting point, right? You got to kind of get everything nailed down at once and then grow it. But I think for us, having now established this platform, I'm grateful and I'm in awe that there's so many people engaging with us that are seeing the emotional, mental, and economic benefit of sustainability. It just needs a little bit of time, and pun intended, plant the seed and let that process grow. And I'm not just talking about the customers. I'm talking about even our staff. No one had a background in farming, and they're all now farmers. So it's really just this gravitational pull, and the benefits are pretty powerful to see. How that's impacting others, supporting other businesses, and vice versa. It's a really nice exchange.
I think for me, the thing that makes me feel most energized and proud is, I have sustainability in my job title, and I feel very privileged for that. But we really talk about every job at Levy being a sustainability job. And so what kind of keeps me energized is just spending time with our teams, helping them understand what they can be doing differently on sustainability, helping them feel empowered. And then I can kind of get out of their way and just like help make things easier for them. For our team members, they're usually working long days. Hospitality is a hard job. And so my role is just to make it as easy as possible for them. And when we can see that happen, that feels really rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. I really positioned that question because I wanted people to see kind of what are some of the amazing outcomes that can happen when you start to actually apply sustainability kind of mindsets around what you're doing. And it sounds like each one of you kind of says like the ripple effect. You get to see it go into other people, and then they go, do it. And that's kind of where it starts. But you have to be the start. You got to be the start. Somebody's got to actually start doing this. And so that way you can be the ripple effect and really start affecting lives. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for just sharing these stories. And you definitely enlightened me a lot. I've learned a lot just sitting here. I know I was just telling Ian that this is probably the one topic that I'm like not really well versed on, but sitting here, I've actually learned a lot. Like I learned a lot, and I think I'm now going to intentionally kind of go out and seek different things and like just think about like what my actions are and what I'm doing. So this has been really good.
Yeah. We encourage the listeners to go and do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. You want to get us out of here?
Yeah.
Talk about Visit Milwaukee?
Yes. So follow Visit Milwaukee on our social channels. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well. Follow us on there. Check out our website for events to go and participate here in the city and anything that you're thinking about in the future. And thank you all for joining us here today. Great conversation, and we all learned a lot. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps things up.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.